Well, I've always adored Solvang. I mean, who doesn't like Solvang? I mean, that's just, you can't not like Solvang. But one of the issues is that Santa Barbara has been really difficult to get building permits for. Now, liking the Planning Commission is one thing, liking community development is another. Community development is a highly dysfunctional organization in the city. It takes typically anywhere from 4 to maybe 8 or 9 years to get a permit. One of the things we're seeing a lot is the workforce housing is diminishing really, really quickly in Santa Barbara. And there was a project up here my broker told me about. He says, hey, you can build probably 45 or 50 units on it. And this is closer than Ventura, and it's a different drive. And so we have close to 2,000 tenants currently, and they're always asking, hey, do you have anything up in the valley? Do you have anything over here? And so when this property came up for sale, I said, let me go check it out. And then I checked it out, and I realized that the prior developer that owned it hadn't really done his research, and you can actually put up to 70 units on the property. And I thought, this is great. I mean, this is perfect, actually. And then once I started getting into negotiations, that's when the mayor called me, Ryan, and said, hey, I'd like to talk to you one evening about the project. Honestly, my feeling is I was going, well, here it goes already. You know, it's like I haven't even bought the property yet.
And this was last year or sometime, late last year?
This is about maybe 6, 7 months ago, 8 months ago. And the conversation went a completely different way. It's like, hey, we don't want more housing there. What we'd really like is a very unique type of hotel, if you could. Solvang is very much in need of a change. That's how I got elected. And we would like you to, if possible, look in a very creative way on how to develop that property, not with housing, but more with a hotel, something to really kind of change the whole vibe. And so I was going, really? And you know, somebody that really cares, somebody that knows. And so what I did is I started looking at it on Google Maps. I knew it had a great location across from the Mission. But the real issue was for me, what's like, where does this in location of the rest of Solvang? You know, what kind of an impact? You know, what do we put there? Because it's all about location, of course. And then I just kept seeing the 2 parcels next to it. This county parcel we're sitting in right now, and this big ugly parking lot. So I went back to him. I said, you know, actually I called him. I said, you know, Ryan, honestly, you know, if you really want to change the community, I said, you know, you have an opportunity. You have a very large groups of real estate right now that you could develop that really would change Solvang in a positive way, you know, if you really want to do it. And he just kind of said, well, come up with a plan, just bring it up. You know, we'll take a look at it. I bought an architectural firm a few years back. And so I took it to the architects and I said, hey, you know, let's look at these 3 parcels here, see what we can do. No, it's On Design, a guy named Keith Nolan, amazing architect. Him and his staff are incredible. And so what happened is we started looking at this like to create like a real European village, not just like a pseudo, but like a real, true European village. With me living in Europe for 5 years, as a builder and as a developer, I would go in these little communities and I just kind of analyze, why is this working so well? You know, why does this feel so good? You know, why are the people living longer and the kids wanting to stay here? Because that's one of the problems that we have in Santa Barbara. You know, you grow up and everybody leaves. They all try to get back, but they want to leave immediately, which is kind of natural in a sense, but it would be really nice to have a place where they didn't have to. And so I started analyzing a lot of it, and there was kind of ratios of how many houses versus commercial versus office and how it was located. And a lot of these little castle towns had it down. You know, you'd have these piazzas in the middle of town, and you know, you'd see all these older people out there I mean, they're out there conversing, but the reason they were there is because the young mothers and young parents were taking their kids there to play also. So you had this great mix of, you know, older and very younger. And so it's very healthy. And so that's kind of how it started. I thought, well, that's perfect for Solvang. I mean, how many European cities, or wannabe European cities, do we have west of the Mississippi? None that I know of. I mean, everybody wants to be more Spanish or down those lines. So it was a good challenge. So we came up with this, which I thought was a great plan. Ryan loved it. And so when I presented it to the other council members,
And when did you present that to them?
I want to say maybe 3 months ago.
Okay.
Took us a while to get it drawn up, of course. Parking's always an issue. So, and not only that, parking's not the only primary driving. You also have to make sense economically. You can't just build something and have it not make any sense. That doesn't work either. So.
What was Ryan's initial response when you showed him the plans?
It was actually really, he was real quiet at first, and then, you know, it was very cute. He says, he goes, "This is better than anything I'd ever imagined." He goes, "This is really beautiful," because he's been to Europe. He knows how it works. And he goes, "Can you really do this?" And I said, "Well, yeah, if we can get the county property, you know, you own the city property. That parking lot's not doing any good for the city. I mean, it's like, this is last thing you want to see is a big open parking lot when you're driving into a town. You know, and so this is a Danish village. This is actually copied. Literally, there's nothing original on this. Not even the building elevations. I mean, I've copied this from little communities over in Denmark and little, you know, communities over in Italy and France.
So what initially was an idea to develop, you know, the old lumberyard, and those are two separate parcels, correct? Or was it 1783 and 93?
The lumberyard's about 2.5 acres
Okay.
in total, which is great. I mean, for a 70-unit project, that's plenty of space. You know, we're building 82 units in Santa Barbara very soon, and it's not even on 2.5 acres, so there's plenty of space there.
Yeah, so what initially started out as, you know, working class housing, it was your idea to bring that to Solvang.
Yeah.
Turned into a proposal from the city to turn that area, the 2.19 acres into a hotel, kind of a boutique hotel, if you will. And then you expounded on that and said, hey, well, let's use all of this other land that's not being utilized to its fullest or maximized, and create some revenue.
It's revenue, but it also creates, this project is, it's more than that. It's a social gathering place. I mean, if you look at the amount of open space, it's tremendous, but there's a large piazza that has a stage where people can put on, if the high schools or the junior highs or whoever wants to put on plays, outdoor plays, very much like Europe. There's stairs kind of going up to nowhere that you can kind of sit there, and it has a very, very European vibe. It's more than just this is a project that would almost, if this were to go through, it would redefine Solvang, going more for real European feel. You know, it's a great feel now, but it's not original. It's more kind of it's a European look with 100% American flair. This is very European. These shops are very small, very, very small, like most European shops are. That's the experience that people are looking for in retail now. That's why Forever 21 went out of business. Old Navy's not doing well. Those type of businesses are kind of over. You can buy all that online. What they want is a place where, you know, if you want to buy beads and bracelets, and, you know, Lisa's in there making them herself, and it's like, oh, could you make me something with these colors are my favorite colors, and you do it. Well, if you got a 500 square foot shop, your rent's going to be low enough where you can do that. if you're your specialty is making like these really amazing croissants, but you love baking, it's not going to be out of the way to be like a real artisan and to go, okay, I can afford to really live my passion. And that's what really makes Europe so amazing. You go into a place where a guy makes, olives, and you're going, oh my God, these are the best olives I've ever had in my life. How come we don't have anything like this in the States? Because most retail places are like 1,500 to 3,500 square feet. He can't afford to do his olive specialty. Somebody wants to make cheese or, has like a little gelato store. These are all small retail spaces. These aren't set up for like a big company to come in. It's like, yeah, I've got 5 restaurants. We want to put another one over here. No, they're not big enough for you to make that kind of money, but they're big enough for a local person to actually live here and live their passion. And I think that's what's going to bring people to Solvang and keep people coming back and staying for longer stays. That's actually one of my big issues with Solvang. You guys run 1.5 million people through these doors every year. I mean, I'd love to see it get down to about 500,000 people, cut it by 2/3, and just have people stay longer and spend more money and really enjoy Solvang for what it is. Really get to know the valley. Get on their bikes, come up here. As you're driving home.
But how would you cut that in half?
How would you cut that in
How
half?
would you cut the traffic in half? Because that is one of the main arguments is all the traffic. 246 is, and Mission Drive is already maxed out in terms of traffic. Sometimes it takes 20 minutes just to get down the street. I mean, how would you even address that? Beyond other concerns, since we're talking about traffic, how would you minimize that to half, of tourists that come into town?
No, 1/3. I think you should eliminate it down to 1/3, honestly, Lisa. Because here's the issue. First of all, you guys have left-hand turns and you have parking on your main street, which is crazy. Get rid of those. I mean, stop that today. If you put some roundabouts in, there's probably some state and federal money. Roundabouts would help tremendously. But moreover, the issue is right here is how I see it, is if you have a tenant, a tourist, so to speak, I'll call them tenants, they're coming up here and they're spending between $300 and $500 a night, okay, and they want to come up and spend a week or 5 days, the amount of money that person's going to spend and the type of tourism that they're going to be involved with, they're going to park their car, hopefully get on their bike or go horseback riding or walk around. Right now you wash them in and out every night. These hotels, most of them are set up for one-night stays. The hotel that I'm proposing is not set up. These are large hotel rooms. These are hotel rooms that you could stay in for a week and feel very comfortable.
What kitchenettes where you can kind of, I mean, what do you?
Yeah,
I'm trying to imagine what that would look like. Square footage doesn't necessarily equal a longer stay, so I'm trying to understand your.
It's more of a, this is a wellness center that we're looking at right here. This is where you come in, you maybe have like a little refrigerator, with a blender. This is more of coming here to not gain weight on vacation, but actually revitalize yourself, de-stress from living in Los Angeles or San Francisco. Come down here and like really unwind, really enjoy Solvang and the San Ynez Valley for what it is. But you can't do that overnight. I mean, you barely unpack. In fact, you don't unpack your clothes. The idea is it's like, look, you got a closet. Hang your clothes. Come on, you're staying for a while. Here are the bikes. These places, they're small enough where you can have bike rental companies, 2 or 3 of these competing with each other, with different kind of bikes. The tourism dynamic needs to change. And that's where more I see. I'm a big picture person. This is how I'm seeing Solvang, where somebody goes, especially now with COVID, I really don't want to go to Europe right now. I don't feel comfortable, but let's go to Solvang for a week and pretend we're in Europe. Because, like I say, you've got artisans that are making, just incredible breads or incredible ice creams. We know the people, we see the people. That's why I was so excited when I found out the senior center was so big. I didn't know they had 500 people. I mean, I'd love to see the senior center pump up to 1,000 people, because those are the people you need walking around your squares like you see in Europe. You see a lot of older people. They get up, they walk around. They don't sit in their house during the day. That's how they live longer over there, by the way. They're happier. They have a lot to offer to the community. But sitting in their houses watching TV all day, that doesn't do anybody any good. You know, hopefully this is a place, we have all those senior houses up above. I never see those people out of the house. Hopefully they would walk right across the street, come up here, sit on these benches, watch the kids play, you know, maybe go get a coffee. You know, the idea is to have maybe 3 or 4 coffee shops in this area. You know, like I said, make it to where it's affordable, where somebody that's very passionate about what they do can actually run their business. And the other issue too is on these smaller places, they would be for sale, not the bigger parcels, because those would be too difficult. But a smaller little store where somebody could get an SBA loan, 10% down. You know, you're a single mom. I love making bread. I'm just going to keep using bread because when I go to Europe, I love bread, and I want to be a baker. So, you know, you go, you save up $30,000, $40,000. You go to SBA. You go, I want to buy a little place over here. It's mine. I own it. You get the tax write-offs. It's your little store, and you're going to make the best bread in the world. Somebody's going to walk into your store. You're not going to be on your cell phone looking, oh, hi, can I help you? Yeah, just let me know if you need anything. It's going to be like, can I show you what I do? These are the best croissants you're ever going to taste in your life. And even if they're not for those people, your passion is going to be so intriguing to them, they're going to remember to being the best croissant of their life, because that's how it works. I mean, it really does. Like I said, I live that life. It's a wonderful life. But that's how I see Solvang, the new Solvang.
Very big vision of yours. You know, though it sounds attractive, at the special meeting that was held, you know, weeks ago, what's your reaction to how, you know, community members, you know, spoke out largely against the project overall, but, you know, I think specifically, you know, pinpointing the demolition of the Vets Hall, which is considered a community treasure. I mean, what was your response? I watched you, and yeah, I think, and I also read some of the comments, people reacting to how you were reacting to those community members sharing during the public forum, and there was some smiling and laughing, and it, you know, I just wanted to know what was going through your mind, and what was your what were you thinking during that special meeting?
No, that was actually for one person where I was smiling at, and I forget her name. She was an older woman, and some of the things she was saying was really quite, and it wasn't funny, that's all. The way she was talking about what Pine Street looked like, and I mean, was more, she actually spoke in favor of the project, I mean, as you recall. And so it wasn't anything derogatory. Somebody told me about that, I think it was Zena. I go, what? I don't remember that. In fact, I got up out of that meeting and left for a different reason, which was the first time I've ever done that in my career. But the reaction was normal, and if I would have actually read what was printed about the project, I would have probably been out there. I'm not really a mob mentality, but I probably would have been out there at the same time, like going, hey, what's up? You know, you can't just come in here and do that. But it was very much a 40,000 foot level idea. And honestly, I had never been into the vet center until the day before. Okay. That was a Tuesday meeting. I had tried many times to get in over here. And so the phone number just rings and rings. Nobody answers it. So it was Veterans Day. And I thought, Memorial Day. And I thought, let's go. So I brought my bike up here, and we rode over here, and we got inside. And the second I walked inside, and there was 3 veterans with me, ironically. I remember looking at the trusses in the ceiling, thinking, wow, this is really beautiful. From the outside, I'm sorry, it's an albatross. It really is. It looks horrible with all the additions they put on it. But the inside, and then this one older gentleman was telling me that his in-laws were married in here in 1942, and then somebody else said, yeah, I hid my high school graduation. And I knew at that point, like, hey, you know, this is different. It was completely different than what I anticipated. I had no idea, but you have to understand, I can't, as a developer, change my project because once it's been advertised, I have to go with what it says. And that's what we did. I knew the Vets Hall there was gonna have to be something that's from the day before. But like I said, it was already advertised, so I didn't have much of a choice but to roll with it. But yeah, I may have been out there too, like I said, after reading what I'd read. And you have to understand, this is how the project looks. A good development is where a majority of the people are happy. You're never gonna keep everybody happy, but a good project has to have everybody in the community going, hey, overall, this is a good benefit. So we changed the project immediately. In fact, I even told that one Monday night, I called my architect, Keith, he was at home, I said, hey, I just thought, this was before any of that happened. I said, that veteran center that we're looking at, that big building in the middle, we're probably gonna have to save that.
So did you know at all the historical value of it going in? Did anyone do that due diligence before laying out, you know, renderings, the first draft renderings that were presented to the mayor?
Well, absolutely, I asked everybody about the buildings. And if you go online and you look what the vet center has online, there's nothing about historical reference, what it means to the community. It's more like, how do you rent it? Here's what it is. I mean, there's no pictures of the interior, there's nothing. There's no reference to that. So in looking at that and talking to the few community members that I spoke with, they're going, yeah, you know, it's a great building, you know, but it really needs to come down. You know, we just need to have a place for the veterans, you know, some sort of respect, which was always everybody said, but it wasn't like the particular building in itself had real meaning to the community. And when you hear that, you just go, it's like the library. It's like, well, yeah, it's not really a purpose-built library, not by today's standards. Libraries nowadays, you know, you have, one of the issues is that nobody understood what a cyber library was, and maybe I invented that, I don't know, because I have to constantly tell people. A cyber library is a library where you have books for kids up to about 8, 10 years old, where it's very hands-on, very physical, but pretty much at about 10 years old, kids nowadays quit reading books. So to have all this space set aside for books that'll never be touched is kind of ridiculous. I mean, it really is. I mean, what you really want is, how's it going to benefit the community? A cyber library is more like a business center. And so, like, if you're a senior and you don't feel like spending $250 a month on high-speed internet and going out and spending $4,000 on a great computer, you can come here, get on the computer. Somebody can help you get on the computer, help you reference. And then about the time the seniors are kind of done using it, the junior highs and the high schools are getting out. And one of the issues is that one of the things we found out with COVID is that although everybody seems to have a cell phone, but a majority of the lower income kids don't have computers at home, and certainly don't have computers that'll handle Zoom or any other kind of online courses. So had we had like a cyber library like this, it would have been very beneficial for the classes. And not only that, they could have come together too. So change is difficult for a lot of people. I grew up with a library. I mean, library is an integral part of my life when I was growing up, but they're not really libraries like that anymore. It's all on the internet. It's my iPad or my computer. And so it's sad in one sense, but is it really functional for the city?
Well, given all that you just said about creating community and people coming together, the libraries around here do draw, you know, quite a few community members. In fact, you know, I've received various emails, when is the library opening? Because of COVID, everything's shut down. So everybody's been chomping at the bit, including the librarians. And once
Sure.
they made the announcement that, you know, they're now doing book pickups, I mean, it starts today. Everybody was just really excited in the community. And on top of that, Solvang specifically has a large population of retirees who utilize the library, including the senior center. They just walk right over.
Absolutely.
How do you address that? Because, I understand the digitizing of books. I myself, use my phone largely, but also there's something to be said for, a library being kind of the centerpiece of a community, built on knowledge. Maybe it's a little bit archaic in thinking, but how do you address those concerns by a large number of community members that, including the Vets Hall, think hugely of the library and they don't want to see it go?
Well, it's not like the library is going. You brought up some really good points. Libraries tend to end up being a social gathering area as well. It's not a place where you get to talk much because you're supposed to be pretty quiet in libraries. The library is not going away by any means. The library becomes more of a practical business center. People, if you still want to get a book, like if you're in Santa Barbara and you want a book that they don't have, you just go check it out and they send it to your house. So it's not like the books are going away. If you want to have the physical book in your hand, that's great. But what you were talking about right there is about, having people congregate in a particular area. That's all this project is. It's 100% that. And that's it. And that's what I want everybody to know. This isn't just a project like the outlet center. Everybody keeps comparing this to the outlet center. I took my bike up there one day and looked at the outlet center. That's the antithesis of what this is. There's nothing social about that at all. If you want to go to the library and you want to read, in a very comfortable atmosphere, that library is still here. You want to check out books and read it in the library, or you want to read it in the senior center, or you want to read it in the vet center. But having a specialized room that sits 90% of the time and not being used, where if the seniors can use a large area, the vets can use a large area, the library can use for events, it seems much more practical. This whole mindset of coming in and building, well, this is our library, and this is our senior center, and this is our vet center, this is our hall, that's your hall, that's our hall. Whoa, wait a minute. Those days are kind of over. The idea is if you can utilize it more efficiently, it's actually purpose-built, and it's being used more. The more it's used, the happier the people are going to be using it. The idea is you're talking about social events. Getting back to like the Piazza, the plaza, that's the whole idea.
How large is the Piazza, the middle area where people would congregate?
It's about 150 feet across,
Okay.
Which is quite large. It's a large area. You could easily sit 500-600 people in here. If somebody wants to put on a high school play, they could easily sit that amount of people there. But really the idea is like I say, having benches and little areas where people can come and sit, congregate with each other. Somebody was telling me about Riza, was saying, I really love the little boat area we used to have down in Solvang here. And I said, what did you really like about it? We'd get down there with the boats, we'd get an ice cream, I'd go with my grandma, or a corn dog, and we'd go down there and I'd crash my boats into other people's. And I said, well, what did you really like about it? Well, just all that. And I said, well, that's what I'm trying to tell you, Riza, is that what you loved about it was the social gathering. And that's what all this is. This is something that American malls they're not a social gathering place.
So did you at any point speak with the key stakeholders of your proposed project? Right now, that would be the library, you can touch on them again, and the Vets Hall, County Sheriff's Office, Senior Center, and then also the residents that live on the streets that would be impacted by the overall project. Did you have any direct contact with any of those individuals to kind of get
all of them, except the senior center. That's because I couldn't get a hold of them.
Oh, okay.
Every single one of them. The senior center I got a hold of, like I say, less than 24 hours for the meeting.
And what's the reaction What's the feedback that you've gotten, and how are you responding to that?
For the Vets Hall?
Whichever stakeholders you've connected with.
Well-
What is their reaction to your proposal, and what's your response to that?
Well, primarily, most of it was positive. I mean, it really was. I think everybody is understanding Solvang wants a change, needs a change. The senior center was the only one, unfortunately, out of all of them, that I really didn't understand until the day before. But I talked to some of the stakeholders in the senior center. Prior to that, we did a Zoom meeting, understand what their concerns were.
What are their concerns?
They really want to expand the senior center. They want to make it bigger. They're very low on their collection. What they did is, I think they've raised 30%. But generally, when you're doing a fundraiser, you know, it's easy to gather the first bit of funds, but anything after that's kind of like the trickle effect. You know, everybody that's into it, you know, they get excited, they donate money. So they're really only at about 30%. They would like to expand it to where they have a bigger hall, a better kitchen facility. They have most of their food is brought in by caterers, but it really sounded like they just needed more specific type of rooms, you know, where they could have these social events. And then when I talked to the veterans, it was very similar, which I figured it would be. Most veterans are seniors, for the fact.
With regard to the Veterans Hall?
Yes, the day before.
Okay.
And of course, I've talked to quite a few veterans after now.
Okay.
Their main concern is that, and I understand that, you know, acknowledgement and remembrance. And one of the great things I realized in Europe is that almost in every piazza, and I don't know how I missed it on this project, but almost every piazza or every little town in Europe will have a church, and it has a memorial with everybody since like probably World War I. It's difficult to tell in every community, listed on the side of this church. And ironically, there's usually some remembrance of war. And what I think is great is that it reminds people, like, hey, freedom's not free. These people fought, they gave their lives for us, for what we have today. That's important. That's really important. And that's how I would like to see the Veterans Mall. I mean, for me, that you take the Veterans Hall and you make it actually something where every single person in the San Ynez Valley, whether it's your uncle, your cousin, whoever it was at any time, and on these walls on the outside, they should have their names up there. You know, were they in the Marines, were they in the Army, what their rank was, their date of birth, their date of death. You put it on there. Just like a war memorial you have in Washington or in a lot of other places. That makes total sense to me.
So you're saying that friends that you did speak with and the organization itself, they okayed the project, the demolition of the building, or what exactly did they?
I would say, I'm not going to say the demolition.
Okay.
I would probably say half are going, hey, the building itself doesn't really need to stay, but we need some sort of acknowledgement, some sort of remembrance, because that's what the building's supposed to be. And the others were quite attached to it. Personally, when I walked into it, I could feel it. You can kind of feel the events. It was very pronounced when I walked in. The smell, you know, you can feel, I mean, it's old building, but you can almost feel the activities, the community involvement. I get that. So it's kind of up in the air until we're still at 40,000 feet. This new plan actually has everything centered around the Veterans Hall. And it's more kind of like the Pantheon in Europe, in Rome, where the hall, you know, you have this Veterans Hall here, and kind of everything else is built around that.
So would you say it's likened to Copenhagen, or what do you compare it to? You say Piazza, is it more Italian? Where does your vision come from? You know, you glean it from something. I know you've been to Europe, but, you know, closely, you know, a city or something.
I call it a piazza only because I heard it piazza for so many years, living over there. It's a plaza. It's an area of congregation. is what it is. It's more of a place where, like I say, social gatherings take place. Where there are little kids starting to learn how to ride bike for the first time. It's a smooth enough area. It's open enough. It's protected enough.
No traffic through that area?
9 o'clock, the ballards come up. If you haven't got your supplies in by then, somebody's bringing it in by hand. There is no traffic inside, just bicycles and walking. It's very, very much like a European village. And in fact, I used to tell people in the beginning of this project, I want it to where, like, if you fell asleep and I transported you in the middle of the night over to Denmark and you woke up, you would go, oh, I'm in Denmark. That's the idea, even right down to the way it feels. You can't build a new building and expect it to look old. Some of the buildings, I mean, if you look at the pictures that we're using, here's a picture of a small coffee shop. This is not even 500 square feet. These little areas in here, these are small enough where somebody can have a specialty coffee shop, not like a Starbucks or there's areas where you can have like these pop-up like produce stands. There's not a whole lot of money in produce, but this is an area that there's a lot of farming that goes on. So it'd be great. You could have somebody do little pop-ups of produce and little specialty items from the valley, which would be really great. But if you look at the size of these stores, they're all very, very small for the most part. You have a large restaurant here, and I'm kind of picturing these maybe being bike stores. This would be a small grocery store, something like we have right now. I love the grocery store here. I really do. The El Rancho Market, I would love to see like something smaller to where the community could come and actually walk to the grocery store, not do their main shopping, but shopping enough for a couple of days. But this is the feel of the look. It's very, very old. This is housing down this street. This is the feel for the housing. When you walk down there, you would have retail on this side. You would have this very small Danish village on the other side. You're looking in people's front doors, but a lot of people love that. A lot of people want to live downtown. My first 2 years living in Italy, I wanted to live right in the center. Mm-hmm. It was great. But after being there for a couple of years, okay, I'm tired of it. Probably because I come from Santa Barbara and I'm used to quiet nights. But the idea.
So is this whole area surrounded by, 30-foot walls, or what does that look like for Mission Drive?
Mission Drive, these are actually 4-story. And instead of most projects like you would see in the United States, it's like, oh, you push the taller buildings to the back and you kind of wedding cake it up. This is just the opposite. This is how I picture Mission Drive looking.
Okay.
This is a very famous street. This line right here, these are 5- and 6-story buildings. You can't really make them too small. I kind of like to use the analogy, if you tell me to build you a German Shepherd and I cut the legs off, it's going to look like a corgi. We don't want that. We want these to look somewhat original. But the idea is to make it look like, hey, here is a building that was built by one family, here's another building that was built by another family. This isn't cheap construction. In fact, I've never even seen it in the US. I really haven't. I know I can build it. One of the issues is that they've done in Europe, which is very good. They build up and not out. One of the things we do in the United States is we love our subdivisions. Everybody gets a front lawn, everybody gets a back lawn. Well, guess what? Now everybody's got to drive to town. If you really want a European feel, then you need a lot of residences in the area where they just walk down the stairs, they grab some coffee, they grab maybe some produce, whatever it is, maybe they go eat it in the plaza or they go back home. The ways of California especially was built, they're not working anymore. And if Solvang really wants to get with the times, it kind of needs to go back in history a little bit and go back to what the founding fathers really kind of grew up with. When I talked to one of the original families here in town, really, really loved it. He was
Is it
born.
Nielsen or
I can't really say
Okay.
because it's like I didn't ask him if I could talk about it.
Got it.
But he's very well ingrained. He owns some hotels here, some retail spaces. But he grew up in Europe for the first 15 years of his life. He and his wife, and he understands exactly what this is. Loves the project. This is not going to hurt the businesses for Solvang. If anything, what it is your ADR stands for average daily rate. The ADR for these hotel rooms are going to go up. They're not going to go down. They're going to go up. Because right now, you can't get to a lower grade of tourist than Solvang has right now. You can't get below the budget buses. There isn't anything lower than that. Solvang right now is being used as a potty stop on their way to San Francisco from Los Angeles and the way back. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And there's no point in defending those type of tourists in my mind. Their average spend is $38 when they show up here. The sales tax generated doesn't even cover that toilet flush that they just had when they're
Are you
here.
talking about Solvang or Buellton?
I'm talking about Solvang. Buellton actually is, Buellton's building bigger hotels. And that's actually one of the issues too. Buellton's building more hotels. And the problem is Solvang, they're going to be sleeping in the hotel in Buellton, and they're going to be coming down here to shop. So they're going to drive from Buellton, because it's what, 7 miles, 6 miles down the road. So they're going to drive down here, get out of their car, walk around for 4 or 5 hours, doing what they're going to do. They're going to drive back to their hotel room. Let's stop that. Let's get it to where we have somebody that's coming up for a week. I want to get healthy. I want to de-stress. I want to learn how to work out better. I want to ride bikes for a week. I want to go up to the valley and just really, really, really expand on my own G. It's like, what am I going to do with my life? That's how I see Solvang. This place is special. Running 1.5 million tourists through it every year is not special to me. Get people up here that really appreciate it, want to spend time.
So how are you going to get buy-in from residents that are, the whole project? One particular gentleman even described it as, grandiose. And you describe it as 30,000 feet in the air, So I guess to some degree it is pretty grandiose. How will you get buy-in from the majority of residents? Because like you said, it's something where you want majority to like it. You can't please everyone, but you do want majority buy-in. How are you going to do that?
Lisa, if I don't get the buy-in, I'm 62. I got a great life. I mean, it's building 70 units over there is not going to hurt my feelings. This is something I spend time on. If we can build this for the community, I think it'll be great for the community. But truly, if the community doesn't want this, if the community doesn't want to change and they want to keep it going the way it is right now, it's their community. It really is. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. It's not like I gotta have this. I don't need it financially. I've been very lucky in my life in that way. Building housing over there, that's what we do. Like I said, right now I currently have about 2,000 tenants, and adding another 300 tenants up here fits the box easy. This is just a dream that I was asked to put together for the community. I'm excited about it. I think it would be really wonderful for the community. But if the community really says it's like, hey, we love what we got, this is how we want to keep it, I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. I really am. I mean, I own the property next door already. And honestly, I can build those places and hardly even have to come up here. My crew knows what to do. We just design it, we build it, we stick it into the queue, and we rent them out. This, to me, having $60 a night hotel rooms that people stay 1 or 2 nights, usually one, or a majority are tourists or day trippers, that spend $38 a day or $38 on their entire trip. I just don't see that as a benefit to Solvang. Your traffic's only going to get worse. It's never going to grow. I mean, there's really no, and here's the issue. And this is one of the things, I told you why I came back to the United States. This isn't about me. This isn't about me at all. Honestly, this isn't about you. This isn't about hardly anybody right now. This is about our children and our children's children. It's like, what is there in Solvang for them? What is there here for a kid to grow up into? What is it that they're going to have memories about? I mean, there's some great things here. There's no question about it. But it's like there's hardly any opportunity. A majority of these people get in their car and they drive the pass every day to go to Santa Barbara. That's ridiculous. There's no, majority of these businesses, I mean, you think about how many people actually get to work in Solvang. I mean, you're telling me you commute every day. There needs to be something for the community. You know, I'd love to see Solvang start moving more into education with Santa Barbara. You know, you could put schools up here as well. One of the things I thought about putting here, instead of the public administration building, originally this was set up as a culinary school, because I know it's huge, but when they told me they really want this to be the new city hall, great, we change it. As a developer, it's like when you hear that, you go, okay, I don't want to build what I want to build. I want to build what you want to build.
So how will you know when you've reached peak buy-in by the community? How will you know that, okay, I've got the blessing of the community? How are you going to measure that? And even if the city says, you know, let's go for it. We have population or residents, you know, the 6,000 residents here that are for it. Let's go for it. What will you do?
Well, it's really more than just the 6,000. It's more like kind of the valley as a whole. Because the idea is this isn't just for Solvang, once again. This isn't for like, this is for how does the rest of the community see this? Is this a place that they want to bring their kids? You know, like, hey, let's go over get an ice cream, or let's go over there get dinner, or let's just go walk around there. Let's ride our bikes over there. That's how I see this. So it's not just the Solvang, although it is in the city limits of Solvang, but this is kind of a valley buy-in a sense. The next step is then what they do is the city tells me, look, we're interested in this project, write us a check, because that's what they'll do to the developer, write us a check, and we'll start moving forward on some sort of an agreement how this wants to work. That's all. And then it kind of just starts, and it goes through the planning commission, it goes back to council. I mean, there's a ton of review on this, a ton. You know, these are the kind of the wall, you know, this is just everything, all the way down to the cobblestone. I mean, we're not even close to that.
Right. So you'll wait for kind of come to your level and understand it and give their blessing before you move forward, or who are you waiting for at this point?
We're doing some workshops on the 27th. If we hear, you know, if at that point right there, like I say, everybody, and I want people to be, you know, that whole thing that happened outside of City Hall, I'm sorry, I find that very immature. I mean, I really do, going out blowing whistles, having kids singing songs, God bless America. Hey man, this is the development for your community. This is for the kids. I mean, it's silly. Let's talk logically here, you know? And if everybody says, for a majority of the people, we don't want it, I can build a housing, really easy. It's what I do. It's how I bought the property in the first place. And would it hurt my feelings? It would be kind of a disappointment, but at the same time, it's almost kind of relief. At my age, I mean, this is like a 5-6 year project.
Yeah.
You know, by the time I get it all written up, you know, and get it built, where like I say, the first bakery opens. This is a big project. I don't know if I want to even do that, you know, if there's a lot of bad will towards it.
Right.
In fact, I know I don't want to do that if there's bad will.
What would you say the overall approximate cost of this development would be?
This is a $250 million project.
$250 million.
Yeah, this is a $250 million project. Just the parking garage itself is $40 million. Just the garage, the parking garage. This is huge.
Does that include the development of the parking lot next to Solvang, or the Solvang Park, or the Theater Fest?
No, I just,
Okay.
My wife and I are riding our bikes out here one day. We come up here a lot. We're not stalkers. I mean, I just want to kind of get a feel of the community. So we rode over there to eat our lunch in that park. And I thought, this is ridiculous. We got a parking lot on one side. We got a highway on the other side. The kids can't play here because if the ball gets kicked out in the road either side, I mean, it's ridiculous. And so I took a bunch of pictures, took it back to my architects, and I go, we need a new park for Solvang. What? And I go, look,
And you're talking about Solvang Park.
Solvang Park. My idea would be to take the parking lot away from and behind it and make that into more of a plaza. That's where your farmer's market would be. That should be your center of downtown. This is nowhere means to be ever to be the center of downtown. Your center of downtown is where the center of your downtown is. This is supposed to be a neighborhood. That's all. It's just another neighborhood, and hopefully you guys get 5 or 6 more of these in the future if this one ever to get built. Like I said, that's the idea. But Solvang Park was just, we came up with some ideas, a walking fountain where the kids can actually play inside it. There's a small little fence, slow down the road. I just designed that. I showed it to a couple of the council members and the mayor. They all fell in love with it. I pushed the plans across the street. I go, this is a good idea. I'm not looking to build it, but this is a good idea. This is how I see your town. Having parking lots, your money real estate in this town are asphalt parking lots. That's got to change. I mean, it has to change, or else otherwise, it doesn't have to change. Actually, what am I saying? I don't live here. I live in Santa Barbara, but I look at it from an outsider's point of view, and sometimes that's what you need to go, hey, this could be better. And I see that as a central park, like I say, with a great walking fountain that kids can play in while parents are eating dinner or breakfast or lunch or whatever it is. Places where they can have the Christmas fair. They could do the farmer's market every week. Currently, you don't have that.
And, we'll wrap it up here in just a few minutes, but I also concern of residents that live on Pine Street and Maple Avenue. They're going to walk out to their front yard and look up and see this Goliath development in front of them. How will you quell their fears or, vie for their buy-in at this point? I mean, they've been there, many of them, for 40 years, or their house has been handed down and, from their parents and grandparents. What do you say to those people?
Well, first of all, Maple on this project is all residential up back there. I was very, very careful to keep that street all residential. There's a 20-foot gradient difference between Mission and Maple. Okay, so they're not going to be looking up at a Goliath. They're going to still be looking up over it. They're much higher than any of this. So these will be like a Solvang, like a real European look at this housing, unlike what there's there now. But they won't be looking up at it. They're still going to be looking over it. And so that's a little different. Pine Street's all commercial, by the way. I don't know if you know that or not. But that's all zone commercial. And unless those people really want that to change, they should change the designation of the zoning, because anybody could buy those places and put a retail shop in there without too much difficulty. So I'm just going to say Pine was not really much because it is commercial, where I wasn't thinking so much like, hey, how is this going to affect these residences? At some point, those residences may be commercial anyway because they have the opportunity to be that. But Maple was very, very, in fact, that's why I put the sheriff housing up top there. We're putting in 7 affordable sheriff's units because one of the problems is you don't have any, I think there's one highway patrol officer that lives in town. Cops, I know everybody's beating up on cops right now. I happen to like cops for the most part. I have a lot of buddies that are cops. But cops for the most part are very involved in their community. And I think it's very important having cops live in their own community so they can really understand if a kid's got problems, maybe that kid's problems stem from having a dad who's an alcoholic or something, or a mom that's a problem. And they can help give them a little more attention instead of getting back in their car and driving up to Santa Maria or Lompoc. You know, if they can really understand, cops also tend to coach a lot of football, a lot of wrestling. And I only know that because when I was in high school, 2 of my coaches were cops. But it was cool because guess what? I mean, they kept a good eye on me and they knew what was going on all the time. So that's why the sheriff's housing, this actually was even on the residential, the sheriff's housing is going in no matter what. But that's what that is. But this is all residential up there on Maple.
So should this not go through, you're going to move forward with what's called phase 1 of this project, but realistically or initially it was, you know, your idea to build affordable housing on those 2 lots, the old lumberyard. So when will you break ground? Do you have kind of a timeline as to when you're going to start and just, you know, stop trying to pursue this project?
I'll give this about another month, maybe 2 months. And like I said, if it's really kind of going in a bad direction and there's this like, but honestly, I have to tell you, Lisa, the only people that and this is the way it is in Santa Barbara, I call them the Angry 8. There's always the same 8 people in the audience that hates anything that's going to change, but they don't have a solution for the problem. I try not to listen to those people because there's always complainers in the crowd. If people have constructive criticisms or like real, like, hey, look, you know, this is what I see, and this is why I see it shouldn't work, and I just kind of one of those ahas, like going, oh, okay, that makes sense. Then we just cut it. But if it's more over, you know, almost every single person that I've sat down and shown this project to, in fact, I can't think of one that hasn't liked it, except for one lady has a hotel because she's afraid that it's going to pull all the traffic here. It's not going to pull all the traffic here. This hotel is not going to compete with any of the other hotels. All this is going to do is this is going to rise the watermark for Solvang to where Solvang starts moving into a higher spending bracket of tourists.
And traffic, your remedy is just, you know, by 2/3 essentially?
You'll still have the same amount of tourists in your town, okay, but they're going to be here longer. They're not going to be driving in and out. Like I say, it's not going to be the Buellton people that are driving over here to spend the day in Solvang and then drive back to Buellton. The idea is, like I say, for a wellness center is, hey, let's go to Solvang for a week.
But where will they park?
Well, there's 500 parking. That's why I say this is a $40 million parking lot. I mean, this is huge. This thing's got an automatic parker in the bottom floor. It's got a bunch of parking spots. I mean, it's got a bunch of surface parking and multi-level parking, but it also has a parker in the very bottom for the hotel people. You know, because everything in the hotel is going to be valeted anyway. So they would come over, they would valet it in the bottom floor, stick it in there. Like I said, the hotel would have bicycles. My idea for Solvang is to go very, very much like this one picture. Denmark, Copenhagen, is like the bike riding capital of the entire planet. I don't know if you're aware of that or not. Yeah, it's the bike riding capital. So when you're talking about, that's why I'm a bike rider, remember that part? There's no reason Solvang shouldn't be the bike riding capital of California. That's kind of how I see it. That's going to help traffic tremendously, but it also gives people a reason to come here. And I don't know if you know this or not, but road bike riders are the highest income sport in the United States. They're even higher than golfers and tennis players. Yeah, I didn't know that either until I started doing some of my research. And they typically go on a vacation for multiple days if they're going to go ride. They don't just go somewhere and pull their bike off the back of their car and ride for half a day and get back in and go back home. That's not how it works. This is definitely changing the entire paradigm of your community, without a doubt. And it is grandiose. I take that as a compliment. I mean, I like grandiose. I really do. My 70 units that I'm going to build over there is not going to benefit the community that much. You guys are going to get a little bit of property tax out of it, but that's not really benefiting Solvang in a long term. This is changing the dynamic of a community, and it's actually, like I said, encouraging biking. So, anything else?
I think we covered it all. I mean, did we touch on all of the, you've updated it since the special meeting with the Veterans Hall, the large hall, as kind of a centerpiece? Do you want to speak to that?
Well, the Veterans Hall is actually going to be, the entire neighborhood is going to look like it was built around the Veterans Hall. That's the whole idea. If this is something, and it's great, we needed a theme anyway. I mean, I didn't know what the theme was going to be, but it actually worked out to be the best. I think if you look at things instead of just looking at the negative aspects, it's like, so that's what myself and my architects did. It's like, great, how can we make this the betterment? And so that's what we did. It's like, let's just build the whole project around the Veterans Hall. Make this the centerpiece, not this room, but the Veterans Hall in itself. And it's also a great place too. You can still have the high school dances there. You know, you can still have whatever you're going to have. But if you have a high school dance here, and then it's like looking out onto the plaza, this is a natural. This place is a natural, actually benefit people. Right now you have a high school dance over here and there's no retail. If you have a high school dance here and they can all go out and get coffee, get ice cream, you know, get things, I mean, this is a win-win. I mean, I think there's 154 small little units up in here, is what it is. They're not big places either, by the way. That's something else that I'm not into. They're smaller units. You know, these are all about 450 to about 600 square feet. This isn't something where, you know, you pile 6 or 7 people into. These things where it's like, if you're a small family, it's like, yeah, it's doable. You know, but this is for younger people for the most part, the smaller units, or older people.
So the modified concept is pretty much the same as the previous one, except the vet hall is centerpiece. Is that accurate, or?
It's still the exact same concept.
Okay.
Like I say, none of this is original. I didn't invent this concept. This is a concept that evolved over 2,500 years, and that's why Europe still works great. I mean, that's why everybody still goes to Paris and places like that. They want this feel, they want this passion. So the concept's exactly the same. I just didn't know that the Veterans Hall was so special, but gosh, it's perfect. Let's make it the most special part. Build a whole project around it.
I was wondering if you had any private investors that are speaking with you about this particular project. If you had anyone that has, you know, voiced interest in participating in your project, and if you are open to that.
This is where it is right now. We're so far up, you know, until I can get some sort of a feed on the community, there's no point in even wasting my time or anybody else's time on that. Finding the financing for this, I'm not worried about. I have an extremely good track record. I mean,
How will you finance it?
I don't know yet. It's like I say, I'm not going to spend, I'm not worried about it. Like, the good thing about getting older, I do have a lot more wisdom than I did when I was younger, and I have a tremendous amount more experience. Like I said, I have a very, very good track record. So finding a bank or finding a private equity group is not going to be that difficult, but it's not going to be their control. It's not going to be a group of partners. We're going, hey, you know, we're spending too much on the exterior of this building, you know, to try to make it look like it's 300 years old. So it doesn't work like that. The exterior of this building has to look like it's 300 years old. We literally got to go in. It sounds funny. Some of these buildings, if you want to get them to look the way they do, we're going to literally have to put some brick or stone on the outside and plaster over the outside of it. It's the only way to get that look. You can't fake it. And when you do see it faked, it looks like this. It's like, hey, I know, I'm sorry, but I'm just saying that's not European down there. That's American trying to look European. I want this where, like I said, if you woke up in the middle of the morning and go, I'm in Europe. This feels, it feels, the texture is there. that's what's important.
And my question about private investors stems from also another concern, and this is the last question that I have for you. There has been conversation about members of the city council or just city admin participating somehow in the background.
In this?
In this phones or, you know, I just want to address that. I want you to be able to address that and you know, with the community.
Well, I mean, they could give me their paycheck, their monthly paycheck is $600 a month, and then maybe they could stay in a hotel room for the night. I mean, it's just, no. At this point in my life, I came back here to show my kids, this is how you do it. And there's absolutely none. And honestly, I don't know any of their financial wherewithals, but I've met all the city council people, and I don't think any of them have the financial wherewithal to be, this is a big project. As I said, this is a $250 million project, so.